only spending interest. So I don't know if you're familiar with something called the FIRE movement.
Sorry?
Are you familiar with something called the FIRE movement?
No.
Okay, so the FIRE movement is something called financially independent retire early. So these are people who are living super frugally right now, saving as much as they can in order for them to retire early. And there's a 4% rule whereby they invest them all the money that they can invest over a period of time in order to get to a point where they're earning at least 7% interest or compounding on their money. And so all they will withdraw from their money is 4% every year. So there's still 3% to kind of grow, and then that goes to 7%. You take 4%, that's 6%, and you never actually run out of money because you're only withdrawing 4% of your money. And so the idea of
Wait, so when you say withdrawing 4% of your money, do you mean that 4% goes towards your needs?
no, to everything. So for example, let's say if I was I'm just gonna make up numbers basically. If I was doing if I was investing 10K per year, and
Yeah.
so if let me share my screen. Um mm, let me share my screen. Can you see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so let's say you invested £10,000, yeah?
Yeah.
So the idea is if you invested £10,000, let me say, what's it called? I'm doing it, investing £10,000 every year, compound interval yearly. Okay, and
Yeah.
let me say we do this for 20 years.
Okay.
Now, if I calculate this, I'm getting a 7% return. Now, the idea is, if I look at it, you don't even need to get to 20 years. In 10 years' time, I could withdraw £10,000 every year. So I could withdraw. So at this point, I could withdraw £10,000, £10,000 every year, and
Mm-hmm.
still be fine because the interest that I'm making here is more than £10,000. You can go by that principle, or if you're making 7% every year, if at this point every year you withdraw only 4% of this money, you will
Yeah.
never run out of the money basically. So if you withdrew, what's 4% of let me do this, Control C, do 0.04, and so that would be 9,546. Okay, so if you drew 4% of that, 9,446, you're making more than that in just interest. That's how much interest you're making that year. So this is the power of compound interest. So if you're consistently investing over time, so what people don't realize, for example, £100 a month,
No, so I understand the concept of compounding, but I don't get this 4% rule. When you say 4%, do you mean that for that year they're only gonna spend 4%, or they're only gonna spend 4% of their investments?
they're going to only spend 4% of what's called their investment, their total investment at that point in time when they
Okay,
come
okay.
to
I thought
retire.
you meant that.
Oh
Okay,
no,
I thought you
no.
meant four
I want
percent.
go on.
No, I thought you meant 4% in the year, as in like out of everything they earn, they only spend 4%.
No, only 4% of their what's it called, of their investment.
Investment.
So that's the reason why some people S&P 500, it's never returned a negative um component in 30 years. Or like if you look at the UK, for example, if you were to do 20,000 in the FTSE 250, which would be your ISA limit if you're in the UK citizen, let's say 6% over 30 years, and you were using your ISA limit, which is a 20,000, tax free. This would be tax free. You wouldn't pay tax on this over 30 years. Let's say you started at 20, whatever, you'd have over $1 million in your account.
Mm.
And then if you withdrew only 4%, or even if you withdrew, because of how this is growing, if you withdrew £80,000 per year, you'd still be fine. So, but this requires the FIRE movement. Obviously, they want to retire early. So even if I just Google FIRE movement. What's it called? Live frugally, required decades early. No, I don't want to see the BBC. I don't care about you. Let's go to Investopedia. So it's just that let me see if I can find the he found so yeah, so around typically 3 to 4% per year. So plan to retire at traditional age 65. So these guys dedicate 70% of their income to savings while still in the workforce. Once their saving reach approximately 30 times their yearly expenses, often around roughly 1 million, they may quit their jobs or completely retire to cover their living expenses. FIRE devotees make small withdrawals from their savings, typically around 3 to 4%, and their money never runs out mathematically, provided obviously they just take about 3 to 4%. If you start taking about 7%, it depends on what return you're getting. If you're getting 10% return, you can take 5%, you know, if that all makes sense. So it's just basically less than what you are making.